Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Alex Latronico, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand. We help CEOs and founders to get their messages out on top-rated podcasts. And go ahead and grab our new book, ranked the #1 PR book on Amazon at bestpodcastbook.com. And then a reminder before we get into today's conversation to like this video and smash the subscribe button and comment on this video if you want to command your brand through the power of podcasting. And today we have a very special guest. We have here, I'd like to introduce Andy Neary. He's a former professional baseball player turned insurance advisor and business strategist. As an undersized pitcher in the Milwaukee Brewers organization, Andy learned firsthand what it takes to compete at the highest level through discipline, resilience, and consistent daily habits. He brings those same performance principles to the insurance industry, where he helps producers and agencies build the mindset, skills, and habits needed for sustained success. Andy founded Complete Game Consulting, advising insurance professionals on marketing strategies that turn brand awareness into measurable business growth. Andy has over 20 years of insurance industry experience, helping professionals build a business and life they love. Oh, welcome, Andy. How's everything going today?
Good, Alex, man. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Of course. It'll be a pleasure to talk to you today.
Likewise. Let's looking forward to this. Let's share some good information.
Oh, yeah. So I guess my first question is, how did you go from professional baseball into the insurance industry? It seems like not the usual step that one would see themselves go through.
Yeah, it wasn't by design. I think anybody listening who's ever spent time in the insurance industry would tell you, you really don't get in the industry by design. I was cut by the Brewers in 2001, and at that point had the opportunity to either continue playing, independent baseball, maybe try to get a shot with another organization, or move on to chapter 2. At that point, I got my career, my degree in finance from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and so I decided to move on with the rest of my life. And we had a family friend who said, "Hey, you should try this insurance thing, give it a shot." And so at age 22, I really didn't have any direction. And so I took that offer that Bill Maris gave me to join the insurance industry. And I guess you could say the rest is history.
Interesting. Well, nice. It's funny how life kind of we never really know what the destination is going to be. And somehow, we have our sights on focus on one thing. And the next thing we know, we're wildly successful in a field we would never have imagined as a kid.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure other industries are the same way, but insurance is definitely one where, whether you're maybe if you're a second or third generation, you're getting into the agency with your father. Most people did not get in by design. It was, I know probably I can count on one, maybe two hands, people who went to college for a degree in risk management to get in the insurance industry. But it's one that most people do not get in intentionally. But I will tell you, I spent the vast majority of my career selling health insurance before I started Complete Game Consulting. And it's a very important job these days, especially with as much as healthcare is on the front page in the United States with the expense and everything that's going on with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. Now, I have to ask, usually as we're coming across and building up our lives and our successes, we oftentimes find different things that we've done in the past that help us to succeed in our current roles. So I guess what lessons did you learn in your baseball career, and how did that lead to the success that you're finding yourself in today?
Great question. So if you met me in person, you would not think I probably played professional baseball, especially at the position I did, which was pitcher. I stand 5'9". I weigh about 160 pounds, so I don't look like your prototypical size of a professional athlete for sure. And I tell you, the reason I got the opportunity to play pro baseball, Alex, was because I made a decision late in high school and on into college that if I was going to succeed at the higher levels, I had to put in the work off the field when no one was watching. And so I would tell you the reason I was able to go from high school to play Division I college baseball, and then from Division I college baseball to professional baseball, wasn't just because of talent. It was the work I put in off the field. And I share that because when I look at my insurance career, quite frankly, the first 10, 11 years, I was mediocre at best. all the fears I had growing up, the fears of judgment, comparison, lack of consistency, they really hindered my success in the insurance industry. But then we made a very important move, a decision in our life in 2014, which was to pack up our belongings and leave Wisconsin, where both Amy and I are from. And we made a move west to Colorado. And it was there where my career really took off, because I made a decision with that move that if I was going to have success in Colorado, it was going to be on me. I had to own that success. And that's where I went back to all the things that made me successful in baseball, including putting in the work off the field when no one was watching. So that was probably one of the most important lessons I took from baseball is no matter what your size, your stats look like on paper, if you're willing to put in the work and be consistent with it, anything's possible.
Yeah, I really love that messaging, because oftentimes you see people, and like even for myself, when I was a kid, I was very, let's see, my dream was to do music, right? I was always obsessed with music. Didn't even matter, but it's performing. As long as I got to just write music, I was just a happy kid. And so, but oftentimes you hear, especially in a lot of different industries, talent is king. And what I really love about this messaging is it really opens up the door to, no, anybody could succeed if they put into work, put into consistent effort, really keeping a discipline. And it helps very much have somebody there helping you and guide you along the way who's lived it before. And I think those are significantly stronger metrics of success than somebody who just has an innate talent in that field.
I agree. I think talent can come with reps. Drive, motivation, passion is harder to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, when I look at my career, everything I've done in whether it be sports, insurance, student in college, it wasn't because I was just naturally gifted. And that's what that's what I was able to ride to get by. It was because I had to bust my tail. And I think, if you were to give me an insurance producer today who may not have the talent, but you can see he or she has that drive or that passion to be a student of the game, I know that that producer is going to be successful. And that goes for anybody in business.
Excellent. And so I guess in your field, so you're helping other people grow within the insurance agency or industry. Am I correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Perfect. So in your experiences working with as many people as you have, what would be some of the most common growth and marketing mistakes that you see people?
Oh, yeah. I would say not having a clear sales message. I look at, in insurance specifically, that's where we focus a lot of our attention on. Every industry is noisier today than it's ever been, right? Especially you start throwing in social media and all the other channels where you can see sales messages at scale. It's very hard to stand out. And I think where people struggle is, number one, their message is trying to speak to everyone. And the more prospects you try to speak to, the more vanilla your message becomes. Therefore, the easier it is to drown you out. Mm-hmm. Number two, your message is all about you and your company, and it's not directed at the ideal prospect. One of the things we apply at Complete Game Consulting, I'm a StoryBrand certified guide. So there's a book, Building a StoryBrand, that teaches one of the best frameworks for storytelling. Good marketing and sales messaging, Alex, tells your prospect's story, not yours. And so if more businesses would put more effort into telling the story of their ideal prospect versus how long they've been around, all the resources and capabilities they have, I think more marketing today would be more effective. So what we really do is we go into insurance agencies, industry partners, producers, and really help them clarify a sales message that makes prospects say, hey, tell me more. I'm interested.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I myself, just as a casual person or a casual user of social media, I mean, the sheer amount of information and ads and all these things that come to my way, I don't even bother paying attention to half of it. And if I do look at it for a split second, it's always, okay, well, why is this even being pushed on me? It just does not communicate anything to me. But I think you're correct. When you're really showing a message, it's more when the ads that I do pay attention to are, oh, that's interesting. That is a lifestyle that I would like to have for myself, or that shows some sort of it agrees to a future idea that I'm looking for. that usually catches my attention. Then I'm more willing to pay attention to it because it's telling me a dream of my future versus, hey, we're trusted because we've been in business for 100 years. I don't care if you've been in business for 100 years. For all I know, the CEO could have changed and you're just like everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And nobody cares anymore about that. I think what the buyer wants today is what's in it for me.
Yeah.
That's what they want to know. What's in it for me? I don't care. You have a tool that you think I need. You tell me what's in it for me, and now I'm going to pay attention.
Yes. And I got to say, growing up in New York, it makes me very happy that this is the mindset nowadays. Just get straight to the grit. What is it? What's in it for me?
Yeah, that definitely would play well in New York City.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't stand long sales talks and processes that don't just get straight to the point. I'm like, I want to know what I need for myself and how is this going to benefit me. I don't need all the fluff. You can save the fluff for the next guy.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. We teach a pretty simple framework when it comes to sales messaging. And we provide this coaching and consulting to, an individual insurance producer, the CEO of a $100 million agency, to the entire company itself. And it starts with, do you understand what your brand is? Do you know your brand? Because your brand is what makes you different, right? And when I talk with an individual producer, if there's one thing your competition can't take from you, it's your story. That's your brand. 2, do you know who your ideal client is? Are you crystal clear about your ICP? Mm-hmm. Now, when you have those 2 things, if you know what your brand is, you know who your ideal client profile, and you mix those 2 together, now you can start to craft a clear sales message that combines your brand with your prospect story, and that's what becomes your differentiator. Now, if you apply a framework to that story by which you help this ideal client win, now you got a message nobody else has. Now you have a message that is uniquely yours. But the most important part of that whole framework, Alex, is at the end of the day, in order for that message to win, what are you willing to let go of? Because the thing you've got to let go of is all the trash talk in between your ears. The fears, the judgments of, if we put this out into the world, will there be judgment? Will we compare ourselves to our competition? But if you have a clear sales message that is uniquely yours and you can put it out at scale today, which has never been easier, you are going to hit your sales goals, whether you are selling insurance or hot tubs. It is about having a clear sales message that makes a prospect look and go, that's me. Tell me more.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And you were mentioning it's the easiest time nowadays for building up these kinds of sales messages. So, what makes it easier now than, let's say, 10, 20, 30 years ago?
I think it's the ability to share a message at scale. When I got into the insurance industry in 2002, I was taught to cold call and cold email and go door to door, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think about just mathematically how that works, if I pick up the phone today, I can only call one prospect at a time. If I send a cold email, I'm sending it to one prospect at a time. If I go door to door, I'm knocking on one door at a time, right? It's really hard to do that at scale. And we could argue cold calls, emails are harder today than they've ever been.
Oh, yeah.
But now if I could put a message out at scale through channels like social media, webinars, public speaking, podcasting, right? And I can get it in front of a lot of people at one time. Now I've got a message that scales that's going to allow me to grow my business organically. And when we work with producers, I tell them they have 3 jobs every week. You got to reach out to people who don't know you. You got to reach out to people who know you and like you and can send you business, COIs and referrals. And you got to get more people to know who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the piece a lot of companies are missing today in marketing and sales, Alex, is are you spending every week getting more people to know who you are?
That's very smart. And it is true. I think the more you are known, the more likely somebody's going to want to buy something from you. And it's like, I like to liken it to similar to like those ads, right? And even just like with the power of podcasting, the more you're putting yourself out there, the more you're able to have a conversation and really just get into people's faces over and over and over again, the more trust can actually be built and established. Right? Like if I see an ad maybe once in a blue moon, or if I heard a guy before and I go, oh, maybe I heard him, it doesn't really mean much to me. But let's say if I saw an ad to go to a chiropractor And then I've seen also him talking and sharing some information about himself and talking about his procedures and really showing his authority on a subject. I'm significantly much more likely to respond to that ad and go pay him a visit. If anything, just to find out more for myself. Like, okay, he sounds really good. Maybe I should pay a visit to him. Whereas, if I just saw a random ad for a chiropractic agency, the chances of me going over there is not very high.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at, you and I both follow people on social media, right, that we've never met, but we probably have a level of trust with them already that if they endorsed a product, we might give it a try. How is that possible today? Well, it's because we're seeing them all the time. And when we see them, we start to feel like we know them. And if we're learning from them at the same time, now we're actually building credibility with and trust with somebody we've never met. And anybody can do that today. In the work we do, I was just doing a coaching session with a CEO of an $80 million insurance agency last week to get him prepared for his keynote talk to his own team at their sales summit. So in this case, we're not selling a prospect. We're selling your own team because he had to continue building that likability and that credibility, that trust with his organization as the leader of that organization, right? And so when we think about sales messaging, it's not just to the outside world, to a prospect. Sometimes it's selling your own organization on where it's headed, right? It's that one mission, that one purpose. So it applies equally to a CEO as it does a sales rep trying to sell a product.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And I was speaking of all this social media stuff. I was just very curious because obviously you and I both know the importance of being constantly out there, right? Letting people know, constantly putting out more and more information, videos, whatever, to establish ourselves within other people and get people to know us. But for most organizations or even like smaller time people that are trying to like build and create their own practices, obviously you have a lot of time that you're spending trying to work out your workflows, work with the managers, talk to the clients, build up everything in portfolio. How can they possibly have the time to really organize such a library of content that they can keep up with the same demand of that constant inflow of marketing and sales messaging?
Yeah, I would argue, I had the same battle when I decided to go in on social media. 2000, was it 17 or 18? I was still selling health insurance, but I knew I'd actually listened. I saw a keynote talk by Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. And it was there I heard him say, hey, if you're going to win in business moving forward, you got to start thinking of yourself more like a media company. And I said, hey, I'm going to distribute content at scale. It just so happens it's going to help support my health insurance business. And so when I look at companies today who struggle with that distribution, I think where a lot of people get stuck is, number one, how do I create content? Two, what am I going to say when I'm creating that content? And I think the advice we give our clients today, now, mind you, we're working with a lot of organizations in a B2B selling atmosphere, is to think of yourself like the news channel to your prospects. And so from that premise, what do I mean by when I say news channel? Well, the typical news channel does two things. They share stories and they share timely, relevant, and useful information. So if you use your content to share stories, case studies, by the way, case studies could just be a conversation you had yesterday with a client. It doesn't have to be just these wonderful case studies. And you share timely, relevant, useful information for your ideal prospect, and you do that on a daily basis. One, they are never going to forget who you are. But two, when there is enough pain that they need to make a buying decision or a change around that solution you have, you're going to be the first one they think of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so my advice to an organization or an individual who's trying to use content more for business, again, bring it back to that news channel philosophy, that mindset that your job is just to share stories and timely, relevant, useful information.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I can see how just that mindset alone could really make it a lot easier, because I think you hit it right on the head. I think for the most part, in terms of content creation, we spend a lot more time trying to figure out what am I going to say or do versus actually recording everything. So, because if you look at it, if you already have an idea of what you're going to talk about, it's maybe 5-10 minutes of recording And then
Yep.
you just click upload. It doesn't actually save or take away that much time. In fact, the time that you're spending going to make your cup of coffee for the morning is about the same time you're going to take to do some sort of content creation. And I really like the way you analyze that. It's funny because obviously I'm in this industry and I have some ideas of how we can get everything rolling. And obviously we understand the value of getting in people's faces all the time, right?
Yep.
That's the importance of really putting yourself out there. But yeah, it just makes it interesting and really just sitting down and going, oh, okay, you know what? I had a really nice customer success yesterday. Let me share their story, how we were able to help them and what's the lifestyle that they got. Or just, oh, here's a new thing about the industry. There's something changing, coming along that's changing the health insurance industry and twisting everything under his head. Let me do a 5-minute little broadcast briefing from what I've learned that I want to make sure that people are aware of. And I think that in itself will just really pivot so much to really demand, authority and attention.
There it is right there. You said it. Authority. I'm sure there's people listening, Alex, who heard what I said and said, well, that sounds boring. I mean, that content's not going to get a lot of likes and comments. And I'm going to share this. This is a lesson I learned from two mentors of mine, Rory and AJ Vaden. They have a company called Brand Builders Group. And it's, hey, if you want virality will grow an audience. Credibility will grow a business. And so my advice to anybody out there who's chasing the likes and the comments, especially if you're trying to grow a business off social media, being viral may give you an audience. Building credibility will build you a business.
Interesting. Yeah, it makes complete and total sense to me.
Yeah.
And now I do have this one. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to pivot to a different question because I think that in the conversation itself, we already kind of established these different pillars for an effective marketing plan. But I guess for those who are listening and trying to pay attention, what would you say are the three most, important pillars to really make sure that you have an effective marketing plan going?
Yes, great question. Three questions you have got to get clear for your marketing strategy to be effective. Number one, who are you talking to? Do you know who your ideal prospect is? Now, let me be clear on what that means. We walked through an exercise we call the 5-star prospect profile that asks 5 questions. But the key one is most people know who their ideal prospect or ideal client is, Alex, demographically. So where are they located? What industry are they in? How big are they, right? But do you know what your ideal client looks like psychographically? Who is your ideal buyer between the ears? How do they think? How do they buy? What do they believe about what you sell? Because we do business with people like us. So if you get really clear on who your ideal client is psychographically, now you have struck gold. So number one, who is your audience? Who you're talking to? Number two, what are you saying to them? And this is where the clear sales message comes in. Your job is not to tell your story because nobody cares. Mm-hmm. Tell your prospect story. Tell a story they can buy into that answers the question, what's in it for me? And then 3, where are you sharing that message? And my advice is you got to go to the channels where you can get one message in front of a lot of people at one time. Platforms like social media, webinars, podcasting, email campaigns, public speaking, wherever that is. The faster you're able to spread that message, the more exponential awareness you will create, which will only allow you to speed up your organic growth.
Interesting. That makes sense. But I did a question. You're mentioning exponential awareness. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's just how, if you think about the channels I described earlier, cold calling, right? Calling one prospect at a time. That's linear awareness. I do the math for people in the insurance industry. Right now, the numbers are about 18 calls. It takes 18 calls, Alex, to get one person to pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. So if you do the math, that's 180 phone calls to get 10 people to pick up, right? And I understand there's auto dialers nowadays that do it at light speed, but it takes 180 dials to get 10 people to pick up. If I dial every minute on the minute, that's still 3 hours to get 10 people to pick up.
Right.
I can get a message in front of thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people now with one post. Right? I can speak to hundreds of people in one room. Mm-hmm. I can get an email campaign out to thousands at once. That's exponential awareness. That is getting it in front of a bunch of people at one time. If you're going to grow your business today and you're not leveraging that component of marketing, you are going to fall behind quickly.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I mean, obviously, I've done my own cold calling roles, and now you hit the number right on the head. It takes forever, and then we even add to that exponentially even further, right? It takes the 3 hours to get to 10 people on the phone. Of the 10 people, maybe 2 people might be interested,
Yep.
and of those 2 people, you better hope one of them is ready to pay for the service.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you have to do 6 hours of just every minute calling to get 4 people that might be interested, and hopefully one of them will sign.
Yep.
And that's a lot of work for one contract signed.
Absolutely.
But if you're doing those same exact numbers with a 5-minute post, well, yeah, it definitely makes that one contract
Now,
sign.
here is something I'll share, Alex. If you pair building exponential awareness with picking up the phone and sending the emails, it can become really effective. Why? Because people know who you are. I would say the biggest shift is if somebody said, Andy, what's the biggest shift that has occurred in sales in the last 23 years since I've been in sales? When I got in, Alex, it was all about who you know. It was all about your network. When I got in, it was go buy a membership at a country club you can't afford, go eat at the most expensive lunch places in town. Why? Because that's where the decision makers hang out. Your network was everything. Although that is still true today, equally true is business and sales is about who knows you today.
Right.
And if you're not spending time getting more people to know who you are, it is going to be harder to grow your business because you have to have an audience of buyers who know who you are. Because now you've got the ability to build credibility before they ever open the door. And that's the way to walk in. And that's the way to shorten the sales cycle today is by walking into their door, through their doors with credibility already established.
Yeah, no, it 100% makes sense because anytime I've worked at a company and I was doing cold calling, when the person knew which company I was calling from, the conversations always went very nice and naturally. When they didn't, I had to spend a bit of time to try to even establish any sort of credibility before they could even entertain my phone call. So
100%.
yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And with your experience with working with different executive teams, what would you say separates different organizations that move decisively from those that stay stuck?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I'm not a proponent of ready, fire, aim. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of organizations out there that are stuck in what I would call evaluation mode. Um, Believe it or not, we're even seeing it right now in the insurance industry with AI. There's agencies still evaluating AI, and my thought is, what are you evaluating? It's here. It's going to run you over. You better learn how to leverage it as soon as you can. And so I think the agencies that move fast today and are the ones that are going to win. And I say agencies and businesses alike. Businesses that move fast today are going to win. The businesses that saw AI coming and said, all right, we need to become students of the game of what this is, whether we internally look at it or hire outsource to help. People that are leveraging the tools that are available today are just gonna win more often than those that don't. And I say that because I come from an industry that loves to be a late adopter. They love to wait until it becomes mainstream. And that's why there are a lot of organizations inside the insurance industry, for example, that still don't even use social media, Alex, because they don't think it's necessary. And now you add AI on top of it, they're really going to get left behind. So I think it's important today that you make calculated decisions, but at the
Right.
same time, they have to be a lot faster than you've probably made them in the past.
Yeah.
Things are evolving way too fast these days.
Yes, I agree. I still remember, I'll never forget this, when I was a kid and we had CD-ROMs, and I feel like that disappeared within not even a decade. It was a quick gone. So,
Yes.
yeah,
There was a
technology
time,
is
remember, there was a time we thought the internet was going to be a fad.
Yeah. That's right, that's right. So, I was a kid back then, and I knew this wasn't gonna go anywhere, but I
Mhm.
remember those conversations. This is just a very passing phrase.
Yep. Yep. Well,
Alright.
I'll share this. I was just at a sales summit with one of our clients yesterday, and they had a speaker talking about the insurance industry at large, but they were comparing a broker of the past to the broker of the future. And I think this goes for anybody who's trying to grow a business today. The biggest transition they said they are saying that's going to occur here, that is occurring, is we're shifting away from consultative advisor to driven industry expert. And I think that applies to everybody. If you want to grow your business, whether you sell insurance or the proverbial hot tub, as I shared before. What are you doing to become the industry expert?
Mm.
That's what people are looking for right now.
Yeah.
It's no longer good enough to be AAA plumbing, so you show first in the phone book. It's how are you showing up in front of my world where my attention is, so I view you as the industry expert in this specific industry, that if I need this someday, you're the first one I think of.
Oh, yeah. No, and that makes sense, and I think you really hit something on the head there, because, oftentimes, and maybe I thought maybe I might have been unique on this, and maybe I'm just a perfect demonstration of what the average guy is thinking these days, but it's, when I'm looking for something, I feel like we as a society might have been, for lack of a better ways, screwed over so many times by just trying to find the quick person to come in and do whatever service that we could do, that now I really think that it's that trust that a person actually knows what they're talking about to come in and save and help with whatever problem it is. I'm even thinking of a plumbing company, right? If I had a local business constantly posting out different expertise and highlighting their expertise in plumbing, that would be the person I'm probably going to call on, because I already can tell that they know what they're doing, and I don't have to worry about my water heater blowing up or, yeah. And so, yeah, it's just, I think it makes complete sense. We actually want to make sure that who we're working with are experts, because I don't think we actually had enough experts in the past.
We haven't, and we could argue trust is at an all-time low in all things, right? And so that organization that can build trust before you ever meet the buyer is going to win tenfold these days.
Yeah, definitely. All right, and I do have one last question before we wrap up. And I'm very curious, right? For any CEOs or CMOs that are listening or paying attention here, what would be, if you could give a piece of advice to them to really help to drive sustainable growth right now, what would that be?
It's a great question, because coming from the insurance industry, organic growth feels like a thing of the past. There's a lot of M&A activity, mergers and acquisitions. Everybody's buying everybody up. And I think part of it is because nobody knows how to grow organically anymore. And so if I were to give a business, a CEO advice on how to grow organically, outside of hiring the right people, it comes back to what I said a few minutes ago with your message. If first of all, you have to find out what makes your brand unique. What is it about your organization's story that makes it different than the competition? 2, do you have a clear picture of who your ideal buyer is, inside and out? 3, what is your framework that you use to help your ideal buyer solve the problem you are better at solving than anyone in the market? And what is the sales message you've crafted to get that buyer to say, tell me more? You take those 4 right there and apply it to now, where are you going to share that message to create the exponential awareness we talked about? You are going to generate enough interest and demand and inbound leads with the right people that organic growth is going to become predictable and consistent again.
Perfect. Definitely. I love that. Thank you. All right. Now, obviously, I know we're running a little bit over our normally scheduled time here. But I was just wondering, for anybody who wanted to reach out to you and have you as a mentor or get more information from you, where should they go? Where can they learn more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Number 1, catch me on LinkedIn. We are on LinkedIn every day. Andy Neary, CEO of Complete Game Consulting. Check us out at completegameconsulting.com. And, one area where a lot of people struggle with their sales message, Alex, is in that what we call that discovery call. When you got that opportunity to meet with a prospective buyer, we actually have a nice guide we call the Dominate the Discovery Meeting Guide. If anybody wants to get access to that, I believe you might have it in the show notes, but happy to give that guide out for anybody who wants it, who wants to have a clear framework of how to turn an interested buyer into closed business.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I'll make sure that we put that in the description there so anybody can just go ahead and click on it, because, as somebody who's done a lot of discovery calls, there is definitely an art to it.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for having for your time with us today. Very much enjoyed the conversation.
Awesome, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, guys. And for everybody here, just as a reminder, just make sure that you like the video, comment on the video, and smash the subscribe button so you don't forget to get more of our future episodes.